live in a world where the masculine imperative with testosterone and lack of collaborative circular inclusivity doesn't always prevail. I always wondered when I was a child what had happened if women ran the world. Because we're the last ones when we have children to send them off to reckless wars and lose their lives, right? It's women who would say that doesn't work for me. Defending is different than offending. That's just my opinion. Astrology. When Venus, the goddess who tells us what we truly desire on the earthly plane, the goddess energy of what we want to experience in love, pleasure, sensuality, and yes, even money, hits a hard moment in time. It always looks like a pivot with Saturn. Saturn is that time master of what is likely to be realistic, enduring, and persistent. What can stand the test of time? Is that your love story, your money story? Is that some situation in your life? We have Venus wanting you to have it. We have Saturn checking to make sure it is a viable structure. And that's what the week is for the week of the 17th of the month of August 2026 through to the 24th. It is a testing. It is a reckoning. It is some kind of making sure the thing that you desire and you believe that you truly want in life is going to really endure. If this is something fragile, flimsy, and whimsy, it won't make the cut. And here's the thing, guys, you actually made a decision to go in this testing direction regarding something you want in life, something that you desire. You set that seed in motion in March of 2026 because Venus is working with Saturn this week ahead in a long sustained opposition to show you where the seed that you planted in March of 2026 is right now. It's literally like the engineers just checking to make sure that the foundation of the building is solid, or your auto mechanic telling you that the engine block is just fine. There are no cracks in this engine block. So there's a quality of that this week ahead. Now, Venus is always trying to give us what we want and what we love, but we all planted some seed of desire, some seed of what we wish to experience and have in life. We all collectively planted a seed together on March the 8th, 2026 in the sign of Aries. And that's where Saturn, the testing mechanic dude, is sitting. So these two guys got together, Saturn, the time master, the chronicator, the realist, with Venus, the one with the dreams of what she wants. And they hatched a plot. They hatched a plot for us. I really like the idea of them conspiring sort of in the back room deals, in negotiations or something, and figuring out what to do. And so there is something that you want relative to the Aries part of your sky that you desire, and you would like to see it expressed and fulfilled, just like when you put an order into the kitchen, right? And you're ordering your nachos. You don't want to wait like 10 years for those nachos. You want them pretty quickly while they're hot and spicy. Well, Venus says in Aries to Saturn, let's bring us some hot and spicy something or others into the life of this native between March the 8th of 2026 and May of 2027. So all of March through to end of May of 2027, that's 14 months is how long it's going to take to see the fulfillment of what you created back then. You know, Venus in the sign of Aries at 2 degrees in March this year. Saturn at 2 degrees in March this year. If you know your astrology, you know there's a problem here. We have a debilitated Saturn and a debilitated Venus. She's exiled from her home kingdom where she'd rather hang out, which is Libra across the way. And Saturn is fallen and in a condition of not being in necessarily his most successful zone. He's the old wise man who wants to take his time and ponder things. And he's in the sign of youth, reckless, impulsive energy, Aries, and the sign of warrior energy as well. So there's qualities there where it doesn't really work as well as it could, but it's not the first time we've lived through this story. I'm going to bring you over to astroseek.com, seek.com. We're going to show you some synodic stories, but I want to say this, it doesn't really matter. It's not your birth dignity of these planets. They're going to work together the best way they can. And so I'm going to guide you about this week's testing as Venus and Saturn become opposed to each other in the heavens, and Venus in Libra is in her strength. She has more power than him. This is the good news. This is where I like this a lot. No matter what we say about Venus planting a seed in the Valhalla warrior part of, reality, in the afterlife with the warriors, or the beer hall or something like that with the dudes, Aries, she still has her strength now to make the turning point of the halfway mark successful. For an opposition is approximately the halfway story between the beginning and the end of what has been planted. So welcome to my channel. My name is Lori Lothian. We're talking about your desires that you want to have in a stable, lasting, enduring way in love and money and more for this week ahead astrology. This is Western Tropical Zodiac Astrology. We are using whole sign houses. Please learn how to cast your chart in whole sign houses. You'll need a birth time. Description box below, free tutorial. Then when you're following along with your chart on YouTube, you'll be able to figure out why I'm saying what I'm saying. All astrologers on YouTube are using the whole sign house system in order to make general bell curve delineations for sun, moon, and rising. If you don't know what sun, moon, and rising are about, comparing how to listen, my video editor will be posting a little blurb about that somewhere along the way before we reach the all signs portion. Finally, just like I said, you want to follow along with your chart. Well, there's a thing about that, right? Sometimes you're following along with your chart and you're completely confused. Well, how about getting rid of that confusion and join me this fall on my 7th season of Sky Reader. This is my class that I teach you how to be your own astrologer, time your best life, how to read the map of time, which is the natal sky, and how to use some very beautifully simple timing tools to time your best life. This course is for the new beginners to astrology. It's not my advanced courses. It is a boot camp, and we are 7 weeks together, starting on the 19th of September. Live Zoom classes with me, forever access to the content, weekly Q&As, guest teachers, moderators, a Facebook group, Discord group, and more. To learn more about the class and see if it's right for you, check the description box below. There will be a link to the course description and also, of course, the enrollment page, or go to the end of the video and I'll talk more about it in the extra part, outro part of this delineation today. I'm recording for you guys on the eclipse day of August the 12th. Because my weekly astrology always includes a bit of world astrology at the beginning and then an extended members section at the end, I don't know what's going to happen. I need to get this video recorded for a lot of reasons, so I'm kind of going to be really leaping into the future energetically, but the eclipse has passed in terms of its perfected totality, and I had the most intense joy and tears and releases and wonder and awe during the eclipse. I managed to actually take a shower during the eclipse without even thinking about the time that I was at, eat a light meal of a bagel, a gluten-free bagel with organic cream cheese and locally cured salmon into the form of lox, smoked salmon. A couple bits of organic red onion and capers. I mean, not that you care, but that's a very sattvic meal, right? It's a very like calm and even keeled, you know, it's not sluggish and tamasic and it's not rajasic. It's kind of in between. And funny enough, today I put on this. This is what you're supposed to do in an eclipse. I wore white all morning long in my sort of white pajama top. And then now I'm wearing ivory because we wear the light colors during the darkening of the solar light. And we wear the colors that make our radiant energy align more with the deeper parts of ourself that are true and pure. And we certainly don't look at a solar eclipse, even with your special glasses. You don't want to invite in what you don't see that comes in through that portal. You want to keep yourself super chill. All right. I hope you guys had a good eclipse day because you'll get this video several days later. Now, even though we're talking about Venus and although we're talking about the cycle of synodic change that started March of 26 and ends May of 27, the other side story going on is a square between Mars, newly entered into the sign of Cancer. Yes, he's debilitated there too. And he will be squaring Neptune in Aries. And that story is another one that I'll just slightly touch on. It can often be the clearing more fully of some illusion or delusion, but on the shadow side, Mars and Neptune would be spiritual or ideological or kind of like Inquisition energy, right? Going to war for some spiritual philosophy or belief that requires you to go on, put your battle gear on. Battle gear, everybody. When you get Neptune in Aries, like we did during the Civil War, the United States did, I'm a Canadian, you get people's delusions and illusions, fantasies, and high-spirited, wrong-headed imagination about the glory of war. And so Neptune in Aries does correspond, for example, to the American Civil War. And we see that this is always ill-advised because when we put a glamour god, Neptune, in a war sign, we have strange things happen where people glamorize war. and glamorize the Department of War, not the Department of Defense, right? And there's also the spin cycle, like Uncle Sam Needs You, that kind of wanting to pull people into the machinery of war through sales pitches that are very, very untrue, very Hollywood glamour / Wall Street Madison Avenue pitches for how wonderful it is to go off and get yourself killed in the name of nothing. So ultimately said and done, Mars square Neptune can be something about conscription. We could see in the world sky this week ahead conscription news in some countries in the world where the draft is being enacted, legislated, or where new laws are being put into motion to put the draft opportunities into place if they're not there already. And if Mars is doing his job, right, which can also be about resistance or rebellion, he could have people rebelling, but I don't think that's what we're seeing here. Mars in Cancer is where the United States has its sun in Cancer, is to defend the homeland. Mars will square Neptune going over Elon Musk's ascendant as well in the next month, and Neptune will be in a broad square for the whole thing. Some major problems going on in the life of someone like Elon Musk, Cancer rising, is literally likely to show up in our news cycle as well. Is it exposure? Is it challenges? Is it battles he's getting into? Is it X battles where he's really in the thick of some major story? That wouldn't surprise me at all this week ahead. And countries and people and places with strong Cancer placements will be extremely highlighted in the week ahead in terms of things to do with illusion, delusion, battle, war, arguments, a conflict and aggression. Finally, Mars is squaring the god of the sea, right? Neptune. I don't care if he's an Aries, he's still a freaking guy with a trident, and he represents the oceans or large bodies of water. And Mars is in this Cancer, a water sign. It's very likely we're going to have floods this week ahead. It can be hurricanes, typhoons, hopefully not tidal waves, maybe domestic flooding, maybe a dam will break. You know, Mars would be a dam breaking to me in this kind of setup. But we could see some, or riverbanks flooding their shores. I think it's most likely storms. I guess we're getting close enough this week ahead to maybe hurricane season and maybe to even Pacific storms, things like that. As I'm recording this on August the 12th, I don't know of any like storms that are starting to show up in our, astrological, meteorological weather stuff at this point, but we're recording a week before. So we're talking about the 17th to the 24th or so. This is what I want you to keep your eye on. All right. Weather aside, it's conscription, draft, and the glamour of war, and Cancer being the sign of home and homeland is a general principle, and the sun of the United States is there. You see where I'm going with that? Yeah, we get that old battle cry going. Where I don't even know, guys. Can we live in a world where the masculine imperative with testosterone and lack of collaborative circular inclusivity doesn't always prevail? I always wondered when I was a child what had happened if women ran the world, because we're the last ones when we have children to send them off to reckless wars and lose their lives, right? It's women who would say that doesn't work for me. Defending is different than offending. That's just my opinion. So I talked about storms, I talked about conscription and war stories, and now Neptune, of course, sea god Neptune, glamour and illusion. Let's talk a little bit more about Venus. In order to do that, before I show you the sky and we go through your sign, well, here it is. My dear colleague, friend, and former teacher, Ren Butler, The Archetypal Universe. He'll be on my show soon. I always talk about his course that he starts teaching after my Sky Reader begins, because for anyone who wants to dive into a very long 6 months learning of a different type of astrology archetypal, this is definitely one of the best courses you'll ever take. I took it in 2022, and I've loved what I've learned, and I've kept every single lesson in my practice and in my teachings to you guys. So Venus and Saturn, according to Ren Butler, here are a few principles, right? When you put those archetypes together, right? Jungian archetypes, patterns that we recognize symbolically, we see things like in a positive Venus-Saturn combination, we see quality time, satisfactory relationships, We see commitment in relationship. We see responsibility in relationship. And we have solid working partnerships. And we have beauty and integrity. Integrity is Saturn. Beauty is Venus in blending fashion. And in the darker shadow side, the archetype becomes tests or coolings of affection. Saturn will cool down the romantic stuff. Social burdens or responsibilities, loneliness and fear of reaching out, and doubts about one's attractiveness. That's because Saturn represents old age and Venus represents the youthful beauty. Now, I love this little quote here for you guys who are already mated, and this comes up every time, Saturn Venus opposition happens every year in one area. Gloria Steinem has a Venus Saturn conjunction. Those are considered hard aspects. And her phrase is, I can't mate in captivity. And then there was actually a book called Mating in Captivity written by a therapist about how when you move into life with a partner and get very domesticated together, that kind of sexual chemistry and frisson for, jumping into bed constantly will wane and will go away. And everyone who's been married for a long time will know that. Okay. Melancholy, heart sickness, romantic failure, separation from loved ones, doubt about one's lovability, the hell of being unloved, unrealistic needs for attention and appreciation, burden of appearances, excessive sensitivity to small aesthetic problems. Oh my God, there's a zit on my face. Let me not leave my house. Bad hair days. Cynical attitudes towards beauty, sexual pain and guilt, fear of sexually transmitted diseases, sexual boredom, states of disappointment and loneliness that force us to open our hearts. Okay, let's go through that idea. You'll notice that every year you'll have Saturn and Venus opposite each other coming off of a conjunction. Again, this conjunction was March the 8th in Aries. And so this is a window of time where this sense of where you have to come to terms with the limits of love and even the limits of beauty and even the limits of pleasure and even the limits of money, because money allows us to spend it to get the pleasures we want. These things that are Venusian are tested for reality, tested for stability, and tested for durability every time Venus-Saturn opposition happens halfway through a cycle. Usually roughly halfway through a cycle. It's not exactly halfway through a cycle every time. Obviously, the March conjunction is playing out now as a testing in August, and the whole thing doesn't shut down until May of 27. So get ready to do a screenshot. I'm going to give you a screenshot. Ready? I want you to take a picture. And why I want you to do this is I want you to see the archetypal, I want you to see the map of the sky. That's the word I want in terms of a table. And I want you to understand how we astrologers look at it. So I'm a teaching astrologer more than I'm anything. I saw thousands and thousands of clients over the years. Yes, I have predicted people's futures, but this is what I want you guys to see. Okay. I want you to see how the synodic cycle operates. I want you to notice something. See here? Back in 2021 to 2023, we were having Venus-Saturn in Aquarius. That means that all of you Aquarians were highly tested around everything I talked about, love and beauty and pleasure and desire and money. You were tested and you learned your hard lessons as these conjunctions of Saturn came together with Venus here 21, 22, and 23, and finalized your lessons by March of 24. You'd really gotten the lay of the land, realistic love, enduring love, hardship in love, cooling in love, affectionate, everything I just read to you. So your turn is over. Okay, you're not doing that anymore. We're moving forward. Every 30 years, for 2 to 3 years, everybody gets to do this story. So if you think about this, in any given lifetime, it will only be 2 to 3 rounds of Venus-Saturn opposition in the sign of your sun or your moon or your rising. So this is a very important time to learn these lessons. And then you'll notice that here it was the Pisces getting hard hit because of retrogradation. It went on 4 times. And so it started in 24, 25, 25, 25. Take a screenshot. What's important about that is that these Pisces people were on the chopping block with Venus and Saturn narratives, becoming harder, realistic, more enduring, more invincible in love, because Saturn will make you invincible when you learn the tough lessons of love and desire and beauty and money. And then we move past the Pisces testing period, and now we have you Aries under the chopping block of Venus-Saturn stories. Maybe it's not a chopping block. Maybe it's a, I don't know. Maybe it's a refinishing studio. I don't know. But here we have it. It is literally starting March the 8th, and then next year, May the 7th, and then February 29th of 2026, 27, 28, closing up shop in April of 29. So it really says that for most of us who experience Aries placements, I have my sun and moon there, we're being highly tested by the Venusian and Saturnian principles for a long time, guys, starting in 26 and ending in 29. Those 3 years is a massive lesson curve for us. We've had it in 96 to 99 when Saturn was in Aries before. So if you go back to 96, 97, 98 into 1999, that window of time was a similar testing period in all of the items I've just described to you. Now, I'm not afraid of Saturn because he builds what is meant to last and he lets fall apart what is not meant to last, because Saturn is the time chronicator of old age, for goodness sakes, right? And so legacy, things that endure, things that will be a marathon of discipline and perseverance, but you're creating something worthwhile, something that has a long tail, right? In modern terminology, that has lasting value. So don't worry about what love story falls apart, what relationship doesn't make the cut, what home you choose not to stick with, what project you must like abandon, what job or career path feels like it's just taking a toll and it's time to leave it behind. What money situation is no longer viable because it's not going to be enduring. So these are the ways Venus and Saturn are teaching us lessons together throughout this Aries cycle. Of course, I hear you. This is ruled by Mars, and Mars is not in good shape during this Saturn Venus opposition, but Venus is in the best shape possible. So Saturn is being bossed around by a debilitated Mars, and Saturn is also fallen, but Venus is in Libra, and Venus has got her game on. She's got her A game. She's in her top form. I don't know what she's doing. She's probably wearing a sexy corporate suit, looking like really, really glam in her, office wear, whatever that looks like. And there's just something about that image of her that reminds me of a show that I watched. It was called Younger. And there was this super glammy executive lady who was in her 40s. And this story is really fun to watch. If you haven't seen the TV series Younger, go watch it. And she always wore these like fabulously crazy, bold fashion statement outfits. But she was also the powerhouse, the boss, the executive like intelligence that ran the whole damn show, made the publishing head guy look like a piece of, nitwit, energy. So there's that sense of Venus in her kingdom of Libra. It's airy, it's intellectual, it's refined, and it's beautiful. And she's looking across at Saturn, who's fallen. She's got such an upper hand that this takes this opposition this week, and it really guides us to the balance and the fairness and the harmony. Well, we also have to still nitpick at the enduringness of what it is we're trying to build. Let's go ahead, including love stories. Let's go ahead and bring your attention then to the sky. And you'll notice here that Taurus gets a little hit. Sorry, you guys, get a short hit there in April of 2029. Look at that, at 13 degrees of Taurus, Saturn and Venus. And then we move straight into the Geminis in 2030 to 32. And then if you want to know the whole chart, you would go to astro-seek.com and you would use our aspect search engine and you would put Venus, Saturn, and you give it a date range. And I put the opposition, the conjunction into place. These are conjunctions and it's easy to use. Okay. And it's free. All right. So let's get rid of that and see if this stupid Riverside doesn't actually shut the whole Riverside down when I stop the screen share. It says it's exhausting. Am I still here? I am. Okay. Now, politics, just briefly and then my extended members get a deeper dive. Anything that's Aries, anything that's strongly Aries in the world in terms of national leaders or sun or a rising sign or midheavens of nations will be highly impacted, along with any strong Libra placements. What comes to mind immediately in the Saturn opposition to Venus is the little blue and white flag nation, Libra rising in the Middle East, and the sun of Iran at 11 degrees of Aries. They're literally polar opposite each other. And of course, Venus is in an upper hand position, which means that there may be a movement towards a move in war and that conflict that looks like a potential peace deal. As you know, Libra is peace. Venus is making a peace deal. But if you look under the hood of the deal, it somehow favors the little blue and white flag country in the Middle East. And indeed, its leader is that Libra sun as well. So that little blue and white flag, country, nation, state, with its blue and white, with its Libra identity and its Libra leader, is concerning to me because I hope it's a peace deal. But with Mars sitting in the sign of Cancer, Mars squaring Neptune, and in a whole sign square to Venus and Libra, and a whole sign square to the sun of Iran. The story of the Middle East, Strait of Hormuz conflict situation is going to be on the forefront. And we've got a lot of debility here. We have Saturn debilitated, Mars debilitated, Venus has got the stronger position. And technically, where Venus sits in the sign of Libra, okay? And you think about the Aries sky as well, the oppositional energy is always adversarial. And the T square is going to be Mars trying to mitigate or Mars trying to resolve. And Mars can be anything here. Mars in Cancer. Mars could be a third party country. Mars could be a seafaring vessel in the strait. Mars could be an underwater seafaring vessel in the strait. Yeah. You know what I mean, right? And so Mars can be troops. Mars could be boots on the water, not the ground, because it is Cancer. Mars is always about war. Even in the sign of Cancer, he's the defender of the homeland, and the patriot, so to speak, or the nationalist spirit, but he's also in a square to Venus and to Neptune and to Saturn, whole sign square to Venus and Saturn. So it does not feel like an easy story. And I'll dive into that at the end of the video for the extended members. Let's talk about your sky. Let's go ahead and look at the chart and roll around the wheel together and see what we've got for you. Does anybody else here have menopause? Have you gone through menopause like 15 years ago like I did? Is it 15 years? It's crazy. 15 years ago. How do you guys deal with your itchy back? No, I'm not taking any hormone replacement, nor have I had any surgeries or I've never even taken Botox or an injectable or anything. But oh my God, see, I want to scratch my back and I don't have my back scratcher handy. The biggest symptom of menopause that's never really made sense is that the itchy back syndrome, right? It's crazy, guys. It's used to be in the winter. All you other women out there, talk to me. Talk to me about how you solve the itchy back syndrome. I'd love to hear. I really want to know. Okay. Okay, so this is like I just want to stop and scratch, but I don't want to stop the video. All right, let's get started. Here we have the week ahead. Here we go. I told you, Venus-Saturn opposition, square between Neptune and Mars. Those are the difficult stories. Juno, by the way, has been retrograding. Go check her out because her she retrograded around early June in the sign of Aquarius, and then she crossed that fence here around August the 11th and will not turn station direct until September the 17th. That means that like August 11th to September 17th, this is about love from the past, rewinding, going back, coming back, revising, past long-term love partners showing up in your life. And I put a video out about this Juno story. It's also about infidelity, betrayal, commitment, fairness in love, give and take in partnerships. I put that video out already the day before this one on a Sunday. Go watch that. It was a deep dive into how Juno works in a chart, including her every 4-year cycle and how you can understand her better. But it's also got predictive value through till September 17th, even to October 23rd. It's a longer story. Don't forget, listen for your sun, moon, and rising, and hopefully Stella will have a little information about what the difference is between the three. Hello, guys. You always ask me, rising sign, sun or moon. How do I listen to this thing in astrology? Well, your sun is who you really are. Think of it about your spiritual essence, your divine light, the flame of your soul that lives forever, takes on a body, and that body is the ascendant. You might think of your sun sign like the actor who plays the role in the movie. Your sun is the real you, and the role you're playing in the movie, well, that's your rising sign. You tend to look like that sign. You tend to act like the personhood of that character in the simulation. It is not your real self, but you need a vehicle for your spirit to express. And when we look at your moon sign, we think about how you feel and think about life, your happiness, your emotional blueprint, your subjective well-being. But you remember the moon is only reflecting the light of the spiritual essence of you, the sun. So therefore, it's a temporary aspect or an operating system for your consciousness. I see a lot of the time that people's moon sign is really useful when you want to see how you're going to feel about this sky, but it also connects you very strongly to energies of home, safety nest, and mother. The moon is that stuff to do with the nurturant part of reality. When we talk about your sun sign. It can be father related material, but also connections to your purpose and career. For your soul isn't here, it's on planet Earth to do something, right? And we usually call that a purpose of some kind. And lastly, the ascendant, very sensitive to your body, very sensitive to the fates and the circumstances of life. That is where your rising sign is, how you showed up, took the first breath of life. What was the sign on the eastern horizon at the time of birth? That's what the rising sign is. And it's very accurate for delineating astrology, at least until the age of mid-40s. And we begin to move back into our true self, into our solar energy. And we'll notice that our sun sign becomes as accurate, or can be more and more actively useful for prediction. Already, sometimes you'll look at children for the first 7 years, and they're operating primarily on sun sign energy. So when you're looking at your kids, definitely listen for their sun sign over their rising sign. All right, guys, here's that short form. Take it away. Let's go into the chart ahead. I'm going to start with Aries because you guys are the best. I'm one of you, so we are the best. Oh, not that I'm biased, but yeah, Aries is my favorite child. I have an Aries sun and moon. Aries sun, moon, and rising sign. I hope you get the vibe here. The vibe is that I hope I was looking at the camera earlier. I think I was. The vibe here is that you are seeing yourself in the light of how love can last, and in the most important way. This is the house of marriage. This is the house of one-to-one Libran unity. Even if it wasn't Libra, it's that house of committed love. And then Venus is the goddess of love in that sign of commitment in the house of marriage. Like it's like Scarlet, Professor Plum in the dining room with a wrench. You know what I mean? There's a lot of layers here for her placements. She's very strong. She's angular. She's got accidental dignity and essential dignity. So she's the powerhouse in the chart for you. Absolutely no doubt about it. And this week ahead, you're going to notice, especially as she moves closer to this actual opposition, which will be right here. Put her in there, which is Friday. So the opposition is pretty tight on Friday, which is August the 21st, but it builds up starting on Monday, Tuesday. It finally wanes and falls away by Sunday. And it is about your testing of your endurance and your commitment and your perseverance within the context of love itself that is monogamous or legal. Now, it does not have to be that you have somebody. If you do, you're asking yourself, am I being realistic and pragmatic? Am I having true fantasies and dreams, or am I spinning yarns that are impossible? Because your sober pragmatist is alive and well. It's a little Yoda here for you. You've been looking at the past. You've been going inward. You've been assessing. You might be nostalgic about the past, but you're looking at it anyway. You're looking at where you boldly pioneered into love, and you're wondering about yourself, whether it was worth it or not. But you'll see that Venus is trying to guide the story by giving strength to Saturn's considerations, by showing him the value, the beauty, and the harmony that she offers in one-on-one union, the fairness of a give and take that's equal, which is a hard one to come by. And there's no such thing. In marriages, it always is a teeter-totter. In long-term love, one person gives more than the other. And if you have any psychological training, you know about emotional distance set points that we have from childhood. We're always moving towards what we know from our childhood as a comfortable level of intimacy. And if your partner and your intimacy levels are disparate, even if it's just how much loving, kissing, hugging, affection goes on between you based on your childhood experience, you're going to have to find the balance between the two, the happy medium. And Venus is there to say, let's find the happy medium. Let's find the place where we find the harmony, the ease, the flow, and the peace. So let's go with that, she says. And it's not necessarily impossible, she says. All things are possible under my beautiful light. So Saturn has to weigh into Venus's suggestions and intense energies here because he's moving toward her and she's moving toward him in the sense that he's retrograde. So he's actually moving in her direction. There is an attempt to reconcile love in some way. Lost love, love from the past, love of yourself, but also your relationship to those long-term love relationships that you have chosen in the past and recalibrating them for what you know now to be more true and wise, like this inner wise woman and man in you is coming to life about love. And I think one thing I'd say about this, because it doesn't end until March of 2027, it was seeded in March 8th of 26, especially look to early March of this year. What seeds were you planting in March around the themes that I'm defining to you? Now, yeah, you can get business partners here, absolutely. And you can be reaching into business partnership agreements in this part of the sky. So there's the other angle as well, because Mars is squaring the whole thing basically, and also trying to bring you out of illusions into clarity. You may be making some fundamental changes in how you approach love based on where you live, based on your home, based on your mother relationship, and based on your childhood stories. So there's a big clearinghouse here as Mars is going through the water of your childhood and purging out, cleaning out, cutting out the dead water, the stagnant water of what it is that is no longer needed, because he's applying to Venus, right? So there's a sense he'll get there in a much more tight connection to Venus in a square in September from another sign. But he's got this sense of trying to push her to allow for this clearing of stagnant water connected to false beliefs or false paths you've taken in committed relationships of all kinds, whether they're business or love. I wonder if you will also choose this to have something to say this week ahead about potentially moving or changing your home and signing some legal contracts for some other property. There may be a conversation about that. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. But you might be engaging in debate about contractual legal agreements, homeland, and property in this week ahead. And we have Mercury here in Leo. Let's put him back. I'm just trying to simplify the chart, FYI. And so there may also be things going on that have to do with rental properties and agreements around rentals as well. Mercury rules that part of the chart here. And yet you're looking for something that has close to love, close to romance, or close to your children. Any of those are potentially true. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising. So the week ahead, the main story really, Monday through to Sunday, really intense on Thursday, Friday, is the square between the opposition between Venus and Saturn. Please go listen to the intro when I gave you all the dates of this story, but it takes you back to 96, all of us, to 96 to 99 era, kind of when we had Saturn and Venus opposing each other on the yearly. So there's a time in our life where this was there before, now it's back again. The seed that was planted on March the 8th is about new beginnings and fresh starts in what you desire in love or money. And this is absolutely a workhouse. Usually it's about your job, your career path, your daily routines around work, your workspace, your boss, your colleagues, the office, it's the office. And if you have employees, that's your employee's place. And so servants, employees are here. So you have to think about it. Maybe you don't have to do anything, FYI, but you could think about it in terms of where you feel a pressure this week ahead about discernment when it comes to your work. Because Saturn is in a deep solitude house where we meditate or have dreams and we spend time alone to get deep truth, especially here. And Venus is like, yeah, but I'm trying to find harmony and balance in work over here, and I want to find pleasure and joy in the work as well. And Saturn is saying, yeah, and I've got some really good discernment for you. Take heed of my 7 steps to joyful work or something like that. Saturn would love to give you a 7 steps book every time. So, anyone, those people, 7 habits of highly successful people, and those books are all Saturnian, right? It's like a manual for success. So there's something here with Venus. And I think she's like, she feels an intrinsic stirring of pleasure or enjoyment in her work. And yet she must face some taciturn, stern realism at the same time. It could simply be the balance between work and solitude, alone time and contemplative time. And this is going to be big in the week ahead. You could work really hard, right? Saturn is like, work hard. Play hard, says Venus, at my work. So you're trying to make sure that you know the difference between working just hard and working hard, but in a way that is sustainable and still involves a balance of pleasure. Now, Venus in this week ahead also is reminding you of a seed planted in March. So by March of 2026 to May of 27, you come to terms with the balance between realism and pleasure in the work environment. This is also about your pets. In 96, 97, 98, I'm trying to remember what was happening with my animals. Did I have them back then? Mm, I think they were fine, but I'm going to tell you a funny story. Oh my God, this is such a bad story. I had two dogs and they used to always escape the dog leash fence. And one day, I think this happened in 96, 97, Venus-Saturn opposition. One of my dogs got out of the fence and it ran after somebody's cat that shouldn't have been wandering around. And actually, this is not, I know I shouldn't laugh, but anyway, the cat ended up having, I think, serious leg injury and vet bills. And it was our dog's fault. And it was like not good. So, wait, they were like dogs. They had two dogs, and one was a hound. So they chased fast-moving small animals if they had a chance. So, yeah, so there's a hardship with a pet. So you may have a hardship with a pet. That's what I'm trying to say. This is silly, but it's true. Monday through to Sunday. Be careful with your pets. Don't let them run off the property because Mars is the neighborhood, and that's the neighbor, and the neighbor looks angry. So be careful with neighbors, cars, neighborhood, pets, leashes, health. Keep your pet safe. All right, this is a week where your pet could get hurt or hurt another animal or have a health challenge for sure, but don't let your pet off leash is what I'm seeing here, even if it's a cat. Oh my God, your wild killer cat. Anyway, there may be a bit of a delay, frustration regarding something you're trying to accomplish in your social media online world, and even connected sometimes to things where you have to like square away with what's realistically possible as you aggressively pursue social media land down here, or even a trip that you really want to take and something is getting in the way of that journey and something is feeling like it's becoming nigh impossible to make that journey happen. And so there's a sense of having to have a realistic appraisal of what's more balanced, your work or your career or your travel plans and opportunities. And kind of thinking too with Venus ruling you, right? The plan to travel is not, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, this is travel here. You're traveling, but Venus can be like, what about the work? So Mars is trying his best to have a good trip somewhere, and she's like trying to balance the work story out somehow. Sometimes we take vacations and we can't take a vacation. I've done that because the work is following me around wherever I travel. And so there just could be that pure frustration for some of you that you're feeling this week ahead if you're traveling and trying to tie up loose ends. And last but not least, there may be some kind of tension here around issues to do with financial debt. No worries, because your money looks strong thanks to other planetary placements here, but it just might be one of those tense moments where you're trying to work on some indebted situation. It could involve anything, guys. It can involve banks, loans, mortgages, just money you owe. And that's a small story. Ultimately, don't forget, you're looking for the long-term story that doesn't end till 2029, how to find balance in your work, peace and joy and sustainability in your job and in your health and in your health. Okay, got itchy nose. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Um, I sort of get you because I have a progressed sun here, and I always remind you your natal chart is more important than your progressions. Progressions are icing on the predictive cake, but nonetheless, I can connect because we are experiencing the pleasure, the joy, the satisfaction of Venus in her joy house. The fifth house is the house of her joy. It is the house where she's the most happy because here we have children, and she's the queen of the sperm and ovum and the sexual reproductive process. And she loves romantic love, and we fall in love, and we have romantic love partnerships in this place. And the fifth house also brings us in touch with the idea of good fortune, and she loves to give it because she's a fairy godmother. So everything about this seems so amazing that I don't even know what to say. We love her here this week ahead, and yet she has to tussle with the difficult restriction and realism of Saturn. And so it really can be Monday through to Sunday, with Thursday, Friday being most acute, that you're really trying to figure out how to balance all of this ecstatic energy down here with some hardcore responsibilities or duties up here. And this is a part of the chart that is connected to the gains of your livelihood or work. It's literally like you do the career in your 10th house and you have the consistent gains from working hard here, the paycheck, the regular income, the rewards, the Academy Awards, the Employee of the Year Award, the successful greater gains of one's professional direction. That doesn't feel easy when Saturn's trying to get you to slow down, be realistic, and take it at the tortoise and the hare, right? Take it at the level of the tortoise. She wants to have fun. It's that girls just want to have fun. She'd like to like hang out, drink champagne, go and find pleasure and joy. And he wants you to work harder, Saturn, and they're having a disagreement. Work harder in career and money. See? So Saturn pressures Mars to be a ballbuster in the money-making story, to put all of your emotional sweat and heart and soul into passionately pursuing greater income through the work part of your life. Something's got to give every now and then, right? Something's going to break out. This is also if you're trying to curtail oral pleasures, like anything like smoking cigars. I love cigars. Or drinking too much wine. Venus is like frolicking with the pleasure palace here, and Mars is cutting back on the foods and things that you ingest through your nose and mouth that you shouldn't do. He's having a hard time doing it, and Saturn is trying to stabilize the whole process. Could be a good week to try a bit of a pullback on oral food style stuff. Things go in your nose and mouth and make it a little bit of an effort. Love is here. Now, is this tricky? Venus is in Libra every year. So no big deal, right? Once a year she goes through Libra, and you don't always like fall in love or get on a hot date or go out for a romantic night. But this is very much a story of what she can do here. And she planted a seed, don't forget, back in Aries. So it's all about what you really want here, now just demonstrating itself here. You might really want to have a romantic partnership that's really a friendship, because this is the sign of our friends. This is where we have our besties, our social networks, and our crew. Yep, you could meet somebody new through a group of people in a group belonging setting. That could happen to you this week ahead if you're single. But you might be really working at a deeper level to say, I was planting seeds here March of 26 that can sprout by May of 27 for love stories that endure and last, because my main love story is about my friendship person who may or may not be my lover person. They don't always have to be the same. I think that another element to say to finish up here is your children are here. This is a week where one of your children is trying to find ease, balance, and harmony in their life, right? They're going to be struggling with it in some way, and you might be witnessing and watching them struggle with it in some way. That's it. It's not your story. It's not your problem. It's just your witnessing of what they're going through. In fact, I can see even one of your children wanting to quit their job under the sky. Now, for some reason, it just got really hot in here because I think I accidentally turned the air conditioning off. So we're going to finish up with you. I'll say, play the lottery is not a bad idea here anytime Venus is here. And I'm not necessarily super gung-ho. It was a little bit better to play the lottery last week when she was hooked up to a tighter sextile to Jupiter. But all said and done, you still have luck, a lot of luck here. And you never know. It's also another good week to see if you can play a game of chance and win. Let me be back because we're moving next to Cancer, and it's too hot in here, guys. Hope my mic doesn't pick up the screaming fan, but okay. I needed that. That was ridiculously hot. It was 25 degrees in here. Seriously. I'm in a weird building where it's cooler outside than it is in my brand new apartment building at all times. All right, moving to the Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising people. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you don't like this stuff, please like me. Please like me. I forgot to even shout that out at the beginning. My CTAs are horrible. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. Now, you are a Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You are a Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And, you're already temperamental, right? Mars has been here for a while. I don't remember the date. He leaves at the end of September. He just got here a few days ago, August the 9th, maybe, 10th. And anyway, long story short, no. It was much more recent than that. Who cares, right? He'll be here to the end of September, the 27th or 8th. And it's going to be, well, you could say the courage to have your feelings, right? To feel your feels. But it's also Mars being a big feeler, and he's definitely not that guy. So it's where you can have a lot of emotional turbulence and outbursts and anger and sadness, and just a churn of aggression too in your emotional field for a while, until the end of September. And so be careful with your temperament. And that continues through this week, obviously. And as we go into this week ahead, we'll notice that Venus is particularly having a great time on Friday, Saturday. But, I start to feel it Monday. It's going to be like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and waning as we end this week. And so you're coming to terms with something important here to do with your private enjoyment of your home, the people you live with, and the love you share in the home, and the love of your home and the beauty of your home. And that's your priority anyway, as Venus is in Libra for a bit of time here. And darn it, I'm going to tell you how long she's there. Hang on. This is where I should have had that stuff handy. Probably the only person who still uses paper. All right. Yeah. So Venus is in the sign of Libra till September 10th, August 6th to September 10th. So you could be beautifying your home, pleasure in the home, enjoyment in the home, love in the home, home love. But anyway, this week is a little gnarly because coming up on the week ahead, you're going to notice some tension in the sky starting on the 17th, 18th, as Venus becomes more and more opposed to whatever Saturn is trying to do in the career house. This is hard work. This is frustration a bit because of the square to Mars, but there's hard work going on in the career space, some frustration and some wanting to move forward fast, but feeling stalled or delayed. But you're just working hard. And the degree to which you can work this hard and have it be reasonable, right? Are you working too hard? Is the pace okay? Are you slowing down and taking it easy, but you feel like you should be going faster or doing more? All of those things are going on in the lives of some of you. And, because Venus is against the grain here, you planted seeds. By the way, please watch the intro. March the 8th, right, to May of 27, that whole year. That's where you're trying to understand how to balance your life, where you have enduring prosperity, enjoyment, and success in your work in a paced and sustainable manner that uses your expert authority and your natural expert abilities to do something like really well, masterful. And that's the thing that you're trying to accomplish, right? Between March of 2026 and May of 2027. That's the story. And you're going to keep trying that whole thing to master that until 2029. So there is something here about this testing period for you, about is it already off balance? Have you not found even an iota of what you're looking to accomplish here? Because this is kind of like the dichotomy between your private life and your public life, your home life and your working career and professional obligations. And maybe they're not going to be at all working. Remember in the intro, I told you that there's a quality of testing the foundational structure of something to see if it's worthwhile continuing in the direction you're going. And if you're not going to continue in that direction, then you won't. Then you will start looking for another direction. So this is a real pivot point, a testing point of some kind between enjoyment in the home and love in the home and what you're doing at home and your work life. That's it. It's so simple. Because Venus will bring you those great career gains. She's the goddess of your 11th house, but not if you're not having fun. And not if you don't have enough balance between the work and play, home and office, or home and job story. There's something that needs to give here. So there's a critical intensity here that may show up. My sister is a Cancer rising, and I'm the Venus rules her house of the sibling one older. I'm her one older sibling above her. I can see her wanting to quit her job and tell me the stress level of working with my pace of production is too much for her. And I can see that. She is retired, you know what I mean? She's gonna feel like she wants to give it up. Now, the other thing I'd say here is that because of Mars, you're making big decisions from emotional energy. And I'm very cautious with you for that because until Mars at the end of September leaves the sign of Cancer, your emotional layer of being, your intuitive layer is strong, but your emotional layer is also fired up by debilitated fallen Saturn, Mars. So be careful you don't make decisions around career and home life that you will later regret. And this could even be kicking a kid out of the house under the sky, a kid you love being kicked out of the house if they still live with you because of Mars's rulership of your children. All right, so be careful for that as well in this week ahead. Leo, sun, moon, and rising. It is interesting to me to watch the sky do things that it does. And for you, it'll look quite sweet. Are you having fun in the neighborhood with your friends? Are you enjoying your daily activities? Are you quite enamored with the neighbor and neighborhood settings? And are you kind of finding pleasure here in maybe learning something, a skills-based education, having some fun with your cousins and your neighbors and your siblings? And are you enjoying your locale and maybe even taking some shorter distance trips? Yeah, why not, right? Because that's what Venus likes to do here. And she's here for a while. August the 6th to September 10th. And then we come up to the week of the 17th to the 23rd. The challenge is that she's having a blast and Saturn is raining on her parade. So Saturn can be saying we've got obligations and duties up here. This is an administrative house. It's second in command, a helper house like to the king. So a lot of times, people, you could be frustrated with if you work in a capacity to assist others, to executive assist others, to be in a assisting role. And I think there's just frustration. Now, the Saturn energy up here is also about what you planted in March of 2026 to May of 2027. You planted a seed that wants you to go the distance in finding a balance between ninth house stories that also bring in joy and pleasure. Ninth house is stuff to do with your spiritual philosophy of life and your purpose and your dharma and your way that you like think about your, your kind of high lofty values and spiritual goals in life. And Venus Saturn together up there planting that seed back in March of 2026 are looking for the perfect pairing, so to speak, of spiritual philosophy and life purpose. And that's going to be a question that you're dealing with until 2029. So you're going to have to get ready to figure it out. And Saturn and Neptune are testing your resolve or direction that you've taken and seeing if it's the right one, because by May of 27, you'll have figured it all out. And that's the first of 3 conjunctions finishing up. And that Mars is squaring from your 12th house. I feel like you're going to find yourself, this is like ashrams. This is like spiritual retreats. This is like going off to solitude places for an adventure near water. You could be pulled to want to travel, to get out of Dodge, to take a trip. You might, mostly for some solitude or retreat. Right? Can be that, but that may be a strong call this week ahead. And you may be dealing with frustration and getting that journey, that trip to take off. It doesn't have to be a long trip. It could just be to a neighboring village or town or whatever. There's just something you're struggling to accomplish. And there's resistance up here. Because Venus is the ruler of your career and job, work and professional stature. And of course, Saturn is the ruler of your job and work and service. Some of this tension looks like it's coming through your career and your job structures, or career and job pleasures and structures that are not quite jiving. It looks to me like you guys want to just enjoy the hood or take a trip or take an online class or just relax or have fun with the siblings, particularly the sisters. And there's just all these complications that get in the way. It's not necessarily a simple solution. Go back to March of 26. What things did you involve yourself in then? There may have been new career, new work directions. What things did you hope to accomplish by doing that? Where are you now? Take take the temperature of the situation and ask what changes might be needed. FYI, Venus is definitely wanting to take some fun travel with friends and that kind of thing. But you're feeling that there's something missing here. Now, I've got us through to Saturday. I'd rather be back on Friday, so let's go there. All right, Virgo. So beginning on the 17th, week of the 17th, through to the end of the week, Sunday, and I think Sunday is the 24th or the 23rd, you are looking at your seed planting from March of 2026, where your long-term goal is to stabilize money that is shared resource money with someone else, like a spouse or a long-term live-in partner. And the reason you're trying to do that shared resource stabilization is because you want to go the distance together or with that person. Or if it's stabilizing your spousal support payments, fine, that too. But whatever it is, for a lot of you, it's going to involve that type of money, particularly because you had a bunch of eclipses here in the last year and a half in your house of committed love. And now it's your resources you share together and what that looks like. The seed planting in March does not complete its story until May of 2027. This is the halfway testing point. Venus wants to spend money here. She loves to spend money in the second house. This is your house of what you possess. And it can be money in the bank, and it can be a Ferrari, and it can be a mink stole. Who wears those anymore? Zsa Zsa Gabor. But whatever it is, you want those things to possess that are beautiful and refined and that bring you pleasure, as well as things that you eat and put in through your nose and mouth, orifices of your nose and mouth that also bring you pleasure. Now, Saturn wants to constrict and restrain too much pleasure, oral pleasure, so to speak. And he wants you to take the long game strategy between spending and buying things that are luxurious and, lovely and beautiful, and the resourcefulness to save, to procure and save and store money, whether it's your inheritance money, your spousal checks, your shared resources with a spouse, your tax-free savings accounts, and stuff like that, banking, to preserve that stuff. So there can be a tension here between what you wish to acquire and spend and what you wish to save. And this whole week will bring that to your attention. Be careful of because of Mars up here squaring the whole shebang. It's kind of a feeling Monday through to next Sunday that you're trying to actually have fun, maybe enjoying things with other people, groups of belonging, socialization, networks. And yet there's a tension between what you're trying to accomplish and some duty or restrictions over here, connected as well to the enjoyable pleasures that we enjoy when we're eating good food and drinking good wine or whatever. And I think there's a bit of a fracture energy with Mars, because Mars likes to cut, sever, and end everything he can. He's good at that. And there is Saturn, who just likes to, besides Grim Reap, contain and restrict. So if anything, there may be something that you're trying to accomplish that looks like a group effort to wean back, cut back from excessive pleasure and excessive spending. Venus rules the sign of Taurus, and that is your 9th house of international travel. You can't make this up, but I have two Virgo a girlfriend and a daughter who'll be doing international travel that week ahead. And so that I can see where the challenge lies for them between the international travel agenda and the fun and the joy of on the road, and Mars, also a travel god, is squaring everything, and the spending of the money, or the debaucherous Dionysian pleasures of too much things going through your nose and mouth that you're probably enjoying but could be giving you a hard time. For your long range goals, Saturn says, is to be healthy. So I'd be careful, because there's also excessive pleasure brings a health challenge, is another code for what I'm seeing in this week ahead. Nobody needs to be surviving on Pepto-Bismol. So that's my story for you. That's what I got. This is a money house, and this is a money house. So we got money stories and some tension here as well. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. This is a week ahead where Venus is opposing Saturn. There's tension in the sky between what brings you joy and pleasure and what must be restricted and restrained. But more importantly, this is an axis of committed love. This is you, and you are like radiating the Venusian. You are looking beautiful and handsome, and you are feeling good. You're feeling like the good guy, good girl. You're charismatic and charming. You're full of Venusian energy. You're just like amazing. People will look at you during this week and think you're just so darn likable and attractive. And you're probably kind and considerate, and you're probably finding balance and harmony in your own body and your own way of being, especially for the rising sign. Okay. Balance in your work for the sun, balance in your moods and home life in the Libra moon folk. But the gist of it is that you look at across the way and there's a Saturnian crunch. The crunch of Saturn is in the house of marriage, long-term committed business or love partnerships. Uh-oh. Now you planted a seed here in March of 2026 that will expire on May of 2027. You're trying to find resilient, enduring love, and the person that you want to love must be also enduring, resilient as well. And maybe with Venus-Saturn, you see them as wise and beautiful. You're looking for that wisdom and beauty in the one you love, but this endurance and resilience in the one you love, especially if the one you love needs to contain pleasures that belong to Neptune, which is escapist tendencies and addictions, pharmaceuticals, wine and alcohol, all of that stuff. So you are being pretty kind to whomever this is, but this is still a tension story. And it comes to business partnerships, tension. You got Venus on your side. She knows about cosmic justice. She knows about fairness. You are handling any situations this week ahead with aplomb and diplomacy, right? You're becoming the ultimate diplomat. And as that happens, Mars is also up here, and he likes to cut, sever, and end. And this is where it gets challenging, because you might come into a situation where you want to cut, sever, and end a business partnership or a long-term relationship. The good news is that Venus could hold you in more of a refined air of fairness rather than reaction. Venus does, for example, rule the sign of Taurus, which is your 8th house of shared resources with other people. There may be tension regarding shared resources and professional storylines, shared resources with your spouse, and some tension there. And if it's anything to do with business partners and professional money and tension, which could happen under the sky, then you're going to have to do some serious stand your ground about what it is you want in some kind of business deal and professional storyline. Make a decision to not be emotional, but to be fair and refined and discerning in how you wish to approach business dealings connected to shared resources or shared monies. If you're single looking for a relationship, you could attract this could become a tractor beam for love, a tractor beam for love. But you got to be careful because Venus and Saturn opposition means that the relationship will begin on the note of opposition. Love is hard, right? It's a love is hard transit. So I wouldn't start a new story here. Love is hard for those of you in a love story. It will pass after this week. But if you start something new under this, you might end up baking in that love is an endurance test. Love is a crucible. Love is a marathon, and I'm exhausted. So I wouldn't try starting a new love story under the sky, in my opinion. That's my take on it. I wait to date that person for the first time until the week after this one. Take a time off, out to lunch, not dating this week ahead. All right, Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Venus has set something new in life for you, March the 8th. And you're looking for this resilient and lasting and enduring and connected and committed situations in your work and in your health. I mean by health is this is our work and health house. And so this is a cycle till 29 where you're trying to find play and enjoyment and pleasure and fun and satisfaction in your work. That's Venus. And Saturn, structure and form, and Neptune, dreams come true. And so you're trying to kind of get this ideal setup where your health and your work stories are kind of aiming for some deep, balanced satisfaction. And it's gonna take you to 2029 to figure it out already. Now, the same could be said because Venus is a money goddess to reconciling debt owed, or money owed to you, and having it come to term. Time is up, time to pay it, or time for that money owed to you to finally come to you. Saturn. And so there's that story that was planted in March of 26, expiring in May of 27. It's really good for debt elimination, even if it's just paying a little bit off every month, and you'll learn how to do that, and take your debt off the table. But I feel like sometimes when I just look at this kind of story, I think work right away. I think that with Venus as a ruler of your 7th house, work contracts and commitments and legal dealings are up for you as a general theme over the next 2 or 3 years. And what I notice about Venus here is that she is in this beautiful home kingdom state where she's enjoying her pleasure and a satisfaction in the bed pleasure, or alone in solitude. That's where she's having a good time, downtime, alone time, quiet time, bed pleasure, contemplation. But the demands of something here are taking a toll. And the demands can be work demands. The demands can be financial obligations. The demands can be even a pet that won't sleep at night because you darn well got a puppy and you're exhausted, whatever that is. And I think the good news is as well that because of Venus in such good dignity, even if it was a temporary health challenge this week ahead, and it can be that. So be careful for your health. Don't get run down. This is a run down health challenge. And with Neptune, probably viral, catching a bad cold or something. This is the week ahead. Taking a time alone, to be alone, to spend some time, close the door to the bathroom, put a do not disturb sign so your family doesn't bother you. Anything like that is little spaces of aloneness solitude that you can command in your life, even for only 20 minutes, 15 minutes, is better than nothing. Right? Better than nothing. Mars is squaring everything here this week ahead. It may be coming to terms with what you really want in your life in terms of purpose. This is not a small story. This is something that you will be considering over the months ahead. But there is an element here of purpose and alignment with purpose that you're thinking about wanting to figure out as well. Because there's one thing to have a jab, another thing to have a purpose. So purpose is on the menu for you. And a lot of your creativity, if you're an artist type, so Venus exalts your house of music and painting and writing and dancing and performing. You might be doing a lot of downtime when you can find it alone, working on your creativity, your projects, your muse. And the struggle here is to find the balance between that and obligations that you must meet, including walk the dog, pay the debt, go to the office, that kind of stuff. All right, Sagittarius, starting back in March of 2026, as you might remember, in March of 2026, Venus joined with Saturn. We'll do that in May of 27 and February 29, February of 28. And so these years, all the way through to spring of 2029, you're working hard to figure out what you want to accomplish here in the house of romantic love, children, and sex and fun and creativity and entrepreneurial stories. Now, Venus, Saturn, both of them in but rough shape here, trying their best to bring you lasting love. Not just a one-night stand. Also trying their best to bring you into contact with the potential of having children later in life. If you've forgone those options, this could be all right between 26 to 29. I'm thinking of having a child. I know it's going to be difficult because I've waited a long time, but I think this is my game now, man or woman. Or Saturn and Venus in your fifth houses are want you to structure artistic, entrepreneurial, and creative endeavors with discipline and perseverance. And that's, between 26 to 29. So the first testing round started in March. This is the halfway mark kind of archetypally until May. It's like a full moon of next year. And you're really being tested, as I said in the intro. Venus is like, hello, everybody. Let's do this. Let's make a lot of money in my career. Let's have a lot of fun with friends and social groups. Let's make my life all about social groups, networking, and social circles. That's what it is. Let me really have a refined relationship to my sibling, one older than me in birth order. Let's get along. Hopefully he or she can benefit me. But then bang, opposite the way is tension from the fifth house. Now, the fifth house can actually be another sibling. For example, the fifth house could be a sibling who is two younger, battling with a sibling one older, so it doesn't have to be all about you. Tension between your children and your social life with friends. Raising children is a job. It makes your back break, as Saturn will tell you. It's a back-breaking job to raise children. It's fun and it's hard. And it's more hard than it is fun in the beginning. So if you have children, this is also an issue where you're like, oh God, this is hard work. I deluded myself into thinking raising kids was a blast. And up here, Venus is like, can we have some fun with the friends? Obviously, small. It seems like not a big deal, right? Big deal. So I have to cancel a party with friends. But the deeper truth here is how can you find the balance throughout every situation in your life where you're inspired, joyful, and having fun. Pleasure is yours. Your creative artistic projects are doing well. Your love life is stable and reliable. And your children are coming, no matter how old you are. And yet, you can't do that like an on-off switch. You have to build a long-term plan for how that could look for you. Mars is squaring from the 8th house, of course, the whole sign square, and the kind of vibe with you is, I really want to make some major decisions here. Kind of connected to, by the way, other people's money. Can be money from shared resources, from inheritances, from investments, can involve siblings. And even with Venus's rulership of your 6th house of debts, it could allow you to pay off your debts as well. And there's a quality about this that you might be even thinking that you're going to be able to successfully remove debts from your life, loans, mortgages, bank payments and stuff, cut them out because of endurance, but also because of some good fortune. The only upside to the sky is the idea of a windfall and some kind of karmic fortune coming to you. And then you're going to figure out even though you're emotional, how you're going to use that money for your financial structures and your debt. So some potential for some good fortune coming through your sky, and Venus exalts your family of origin. So could come from a sibling or from your parents and your family of origin, and some good fortune coming to you. That's a possibility. Mars could bring that as well, given that he is the ruler in the inheritance house. I'm not going to tell you much more. You could come into some family money this week ahead. 17th to the 24th. Ay, 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 I feel like I can't talk anymore. I don't know why. I'm having the eclipse day. I think I just wanted to sit and stare at the ceiling. Alrighty. Let's talk. Let's talk all about the energy here of Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. You planted a seed like you did 96 to 99. You planted a seed March of 2026. You'll plant another May of 27, another February of 28. Each of those takes a year to ripen, more or less. And so these years ahead of you, it's all about how you want to find the perfect balance in your home life. You want to have pleasure and enjoyment and love and beauty in the home. You want to find your dream home. You want Saturn, Neptune, and the Venus conjunction that we had to bring you a home where the heart is, a home where the joy and pleasure and fun and play and social engagement is. And Saturn is like, I'll bring you a lasting home in Aries in a remote area near water and heat and far off, like not Manhattan, not Fifth Avenue, somewhere quiet and alone and remote. That's Aries, frontier land. And you're trying to find something with this idea of home, even if you don't actually ever move your home. The idea of like home and Venus would be enjoyment and satisfaction, and Saturn would be structure and form. There's a lot about where a lot of Capricorns are, is they're deeply investigating the idea of home or even homeland and profound enjoyment over time in one home, because Saturn doesn't like, as a principle, he's the builder of what lasts. So it's really about finding an enduring home. And so I feel like a lot of that seed planting to 29 keeps showing up with tests, and this is a test. The test is happening as Venus this week ahead, 17th to the end of the week, opposes Saturn. And it gets really intense Thursday, Friday, Saturday, where you're being able, given the chance to look at it from Venus's very balanced perspective. It's funny because Venus in the 10th house, when it comes to your life, is usually where you're seen being successful in the world, where you see others see you as a success story. But it can also be, or enjoying your career, for example. But it also can be your very visible reputation in love, because Libra is 1-1, which is marriage. And the 10th house is the world seeing you in your archetypal role as a wife or a husband or, partnered person in love. And this image of her high noon status is that she's trying to bring you sort of out of the love closet, so to speak. Yet Venus is the ruler of your romantic life and your fun and your sex and your pleasure. And she's not quite witnessing it from there. I'll give you that. She's in like a condition called aversion. So she's trying her best to gander over here, but she's got her eyes somewhere else. In fact, she's actually focused on Saturn. Love is hard is the code of Saturn Venus opposition. And the degree to which you are reconciling the endurance test of love, especially considering your mom, your dad, your childhood, and the codes of your love stories as you witnessed it from your childhood down here. You're maybe recalibrating this story. Maybe you're really rethinking the way love should look. Should it be hard, or should it just be resilient and determined? There's a difference between hardship and determination. And there's something about that balance that you're trying to strike here in this week ahead. Some of you might travel because Venus exalts your travel house. And some of you might take a trip connected to near home or close to home, not too far from home. There may be a journey for you. If you do take a journey or getaway trip or something, it may be leisure, but it may bring you into focus about the balance between you and love, and also you and work. If you have a job, the enjoyment of your work and the lack of satisfaction in your home, and trying to find a balance there. I like the idea that Mars is here only in one regard. It's not happening to you, it's happening at you. So it's like this is focused attention coming your way that's cutting and severing. It can be conflictual or aggressive energy. Someone else is pointing it your way. In fact, just for you, we'll put the moon in. So when we're on Friday, yeah, when this is pretty exact, the moon is in Sagittarius. You might be getting some grief regarding long distance, long-term relationship partners. You might be getting some grief regarding travel and travel opportunities connected to career, home, or long distance partnership. There's that too. Ultimately, there may be a new opportunity to change your home connected to business contracts, professional accomplishment and opportunities from people who live in far off shores and lands, and or a chance to change where you live connected to your main love partnerships in your life, your spouse, your committed love people. But this is hard energy. This is separating you from somebody else and giving you a distance and hardship maybe in a relationship to another. And it's so funny with Venus up here because Venus is moving this way and Saturn is moving that way. The two of them are kind of coming together, trying to meet in the middle. Mm-hmm. Meeting in the middle. You've got a little time here. You got till 2029 to figure it all out. Aquarius, I am one of you. Here we get going on the sky, and we have a beautifully intense time of things that feel hard, but must also bring pleasure and joy if understood with the themes of determination and resilience. So because you seeded in March of 2026 a Venus-Saturn conjunction in your third house, you'll do it in May of 27 and February 28. Throughout till like spring of 29, this March of 26 to spring of 29, these 3 years involve a lot of effort to find the perfect balance and harmony in third house matters. Sibling relationships, connection to travel, short distance, connection to your neighbors and neighborhood. It's looking for the neighborhood that brings you enjoyment, satisfaction, and pleasure, but also in which you find enduring, stable, and lasting connections. It also is looking for you to consider the possibility, if any of you are writers, or because this is a writing house, or you're in the online world, like social media landscape, of finding that balance between discipline and hard work and pleasure and enjoyment in the work you're doing in the online realm. That includes selling, marketing, writing, and teaching. And Venus this week ahead is testing the seed that was built there in March of 26, and she's testing that seed from the ninth house. Now, the ninth house is your dharmic house. It's one of the places where you're seeking true meaning, true purpose, true alignment with your life's path. And she's in good dignity. She's very strong. She knows how to find the perfect harmonic note of your life's purpose. And she's really saying, do you want to publish a book? I think you should write a book. Honestly, she's saying that. And Saturn says, time, it takes time. But she's up here in a good spot. It's not a bad spot for her to hang, okay? Because she does trine your Aquarius air. And so all said and done, you're bestowing her with a lot of power to make you feel good about reality. But this opposition can also be constricting you because you may have planted a seed that suggested you wanted to travel more. And you planted that seed in March, and through to spring of 29, the seed keeps being replanted. I want to travel to places that are Saturn would say, I've been there before and I want to keep going back, right? That would be the seed planting. It's so funny because in March 8th, when they co-joined, I wanted to go to this Airbnb I'd rented in Mexico, not just the city, Puerto Vallarta, but that I'd been to that place more than once and I really loved it. And we had that stupid debacle that happened with the I don't know. Let's not get there anyway. The USA CIA funded rabble-rousing drug cartel problem. And I had a travel advisory by my government that I shouldn't travel to Puerto Vallarta. And the problem with that is you get into trouble when you do that, and health insurance may not cover you. So I had to cancel the trip. So you can see that there's a journey that will go for 3 years about finding the perfect neighborhood, the perfect online life balance, and the perfect travel solutions. Because when Venus and Saturn come together here, they're both in debility, exile, and fall. So I was exiled from my trip. Now, Venus would like to say, forget about the namby-pamby. You don't want to go on a trip to Mexico. You want to go on a pilgrimage. You want to go to a distant land and far off place. You want to have a broad vista type of journey. And that's what she's offering you this week ahead. This is the week, the 17th to 23rd. That's what she's got on the table for you. Saturn is like a grumpy old guy going, we don't know if we have time for that. The tickets are expensive. Are you sure about that? And Venus, I don't give a flying F. I exalt the money house, dude. I got this. So there can be a travel opportunity, but it will feel like it's difficult to make it happen. And it'll feel difficult to get it off the ground for some reason. You might have Mars driving you like, I hate to say the word slave driver because it's probably not politically correct, but let me just tell you that this was called the House of Slaves. So, I'm not going to be canceled for UAC, okay? And this happens to be literally what it is. So there's a energy of driving something forward in the house of servitude, and in our modern day we call it the house of work. And so there's like kind of like this pressure of wanting to drive forward and determined drive with Saturn in the workspace, and Venus wants pleasure. She wants to go and have a pilgrimage. She wants to go off to a spiritual retreat. She wants to travel abroad. She wants to spend time lounging in the library and writing a book and publishing something. And there's an agenda conflict here this week ahead. The deepest test here is to say, what is the true balance you can come up with down here? Do you want to travel to a place you've been before that's not too far away, or is there some other travel adventure that would be better suited? This week ahead doesn't mean traveling is the thing. The 17th to the 23rd may be the ability to execute a travel plan, and hell or high water, forget about Mars's problems working so damn hard. Now I can see myself booking myself into Whistler Mountain and going off for a couple of days to recover from life. That would make sense for me. And will I be able to do it this week ahead? I don't know. Siblings are up here. This is your sibling that would be 4 younger than you in birth order, 2 older than you in birth order. And though there is restriction and constriction coming through siblings in general, this is a siblings house, and there's goodness coming from that sibling 4 younger than you and 2 older than you in birth order, trying to help resolve the problem. All right, that's what I got. And then Venus, of course, she covers you, right? She's got your back. She's the ruler of your home, where you live, your domicile, but she doesn't witness it. She's kind of getting out of Dodge. She'd rather be traveling or doing some high-spirited adventure of some kind. So look to what goes down the week of August the 17th to the 23rd. Are there travel opportunities that feel hard? Is it important to balance your pleasure and your work down here, or your whatever you're doing in this world, and see if you can't find a solution, and let me know how that goes. Yeah, that's what I got for you. Don't start a new love story under the sky. I keep telling you guys not to do that because you'll bake in the love is hard opposition. So steer clear of first dates this week ahead. All right, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a story. And you know what I like about it? I like a lot about it. But Venus is your exaltation lord. I like the endurance test that's here for you. Because back in March of 2026, you planted a seed, and the seed was quite simple. You want to find stability in your savings, your resources, the money you make, and your food style. You want discipline and structure around what you eat. You want discipline and structure in the money you make. And you want to find a modicum of joyful pleasure in the way you make the money. And you want to spend it on things that bring you pleasure. So there's this whole financial seed planting, and it will be occurring in May of 27 and February 2028, so that by the spring of 29, you figured the darn thing out, like you did between 1996 and 1999. I love if you guys listen to my intro so I don't have to repeat myself, because people always ask me in the comments, and I'm like, watch the intro. So I find myself having to re-intro every sign. So please do that. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Pisces. But because this is your money house, and because you earn and save your money here, what we're testing here, as Venus is in an opposition to that seed, is your balance point. between making money and using money that you're not currently like paychecked out for. This would be, is it time to dip into your retirement account or your spousal shared money account or your inheritance money, or, what is this other money that's over here? Should you and can you use some of that money this week ahead? Do something that brings you pleasure, particularly travel or things that you want to do in the neighborhood. Venus rules your Taurus third house. And you're like, I can't possibly go out to dinner. I need to save my money. I can't possibly take that trip. I need to keep my money locked up in my investments or whatever it is. Sometimes taking a choice, Venus is strong, to do something that brings you pleasure, especially if it involves siblings, local neighborhood, or short distance travel, is going to be the right answer. It's going to be the better answer for the long structure of resilience in your chart. Because you can make a lot of money and have no pleasure. And what's the point? You can't take it with you, right? You've got to balance the scales here, figure out your perfect balance. Now, some of you, it may not have anything to do with earning money. That would be one story. The other story is more complex because we keep secrets in the eighth house, and Venus is the goddess of love. We could say secret love, hidden love, or love secrets may be on the agenda. And because there's a square from Mars, who is fallen in the house of romance, this energy is difficult regarding sexual secrets, and hidden love stories. And some of you may be coming to terms with being realistic about the sky, because the second house is what we say, it's our speech. So love is hard may involve hard conversations that you'll be called to have the 17th to the 24th about romantic love and lasting love and enduring love and just love stories in general. There's tension maybe with money connected to in-laws if you have them, with spousal support and separation monies as well. And you're working out some structure or form for those monies that works for you. With Mars in the fifth house, there may be some financial challenges with a child, and you're in the middle of it and you're trying to figure out, is it your job to rescue them? How are you supposed to support that child? Are you supposed to dip into your money to help? There's that kind of vibe as well. If we keep it simple and we go money is hard and love is hard, those are two important themes that you're looking at this week ahead. Yet at the same time, you're also asking yourself other deeper questions here, much deeper than, love shouldn't be hard or money shouldn't be hard. Because Jupiter is your Lord and he's sitting over here in this very powerful stellium with the South Node. And because it sextiles Venus and trines Saturn, there may be a question about debts, karmic love debts, and what you're meant to do with them. Because, we don't just have money debts in life. This can bring you into consideration, as I said, spousal support money connected to loans or bank stuff, sure. And Jupiter's trying to save your day, but karmic debt relationships as well. South Node can be letting go of one. There's a lot of energy when I see Venus anytime in the eighth house. It's always usually about some kind of like infidelity, shame, or betrayal storylines. Let's call it storylines about love. But you're also going to have to opposing energy, come to terms with this aggressive energy playing out. It's a broad T-square energy regarding sex, love, romance, betrayal, infidelity, abandonment, jealousy, maybe a little of that too, not necessarily as much as that. All right, tell me what goes on in your story, you guys. It looks a little on the gnarly side. For sure. Ultimately, though, you'll be stabilizing your money in the next 3 years. That's the whole point. Okay, so we're going to finish that section up. Right now, you can watch the Sky Reader outro, and after that, my members only, I have a special section just for you. Hello, Astro Curious Soul. This is your overview of Sky Reader, and I want to tell you a bit about the program. I'm going to show you the website that I'm hosting it at, mylaurilothian.com. I want to share a bit about my excitement for this course and why I think it might be right for you. First of all, if you're one of those people who watches all of my videos and then ask me these very intelligent questions in the comments all of the time about why this and why that and how this and how that, then you're probably already ready for this course, because it is your curiosity about how to read the sky And that is what Sky Reader is for. Astrology is about the map of time. It's so simple. It's like a GPS of time. And once you learn the basic language of your natal chart, then you'll learn some easy to use timing tools that even a beginner can learn with me. You're going to begin to navigate your reality with a better flow, a better ease, a better kind of sense that you know how to move through the world in a way that has your best interest at heart, because you're flowing with the things that are happening anyway. You're moving in the direction that the sky is taking you. So instead of resisting, instead of digging your heels in, or even going in a misdirection temporarily, the universe always course corrects. You can move wholeheartedly with great faith in the universe into the path that the sky is opening for you. Now, life is full of ups and downs, and astrology can't take those away. So even learning to read your sky doesn't mean you learn to avoid any of life's normal storylines. It means that you know how have your eye on the ball, you have your heads up of timing your best life. And sometimes timing your best life is nothing more than being able to navigate what you can see coming and respond to it in a more mature, aware, and present way. You know, I had this big calamity happen a while ago, and I could see that I was being grabbed by the sky. And this interpersonal difficulty wasn't just about the other person. It was about the sky playing out in the real world, real-time sky, relative to my personal Aquarius rising natal chart. And because I realized it was just the sky playing out, I was able not to become interacting with the ordeal in a reactive way. So there's a lot of really good ways you can use astrology to do your life better. A lot of my students come back every single year. If you take my class once, you get to take it again and again forever. Plus, you get to keep the content as well and upgrade yourself. And when you come back as a student for the second time, it is 75% off, which is incredibly amazing, given that each time there's new content and new guest teachers, as well as, of course, me teaching you to read your own sky and time your best life. So this is the website, laurielothian.com/sky-reader. If you want to find that way, or just Google laurielothian.com and Sky Reader, and you'll find this page usually showing up in the search engine. Now, throughout the month of August, we have our early bird discount rate of $397. The course is $555, and that is actually a deal for the 7 weeks with me, plus the live calls and the Q&As, plus moderating staff, teaching staff helping me, and a Facebook group and a Discord group this year as well. Now, read your own sky, 7-week foundation. Here you go. I'm not going to redo this. This is a little video of me explaining it to you that's already uploaded to the website. Now, you can do monthly installments in payment plans if you need to, if money is any issue for you. For those of you in really deep need, like, you know what I mean, like needs-based tuition kind of discounts, you'll have to reach out to my team, and you'll see that the information for that will be available here on the website, but it would be hello@inbox.laurielothian.com. But really, the course is already well priced. So here we have me with a funny picture of me. Thanks, team. I love it. I look like I'm very happy, and I'm wearing white. Isn't that sweet? And then one of the things I will show you about, not the whole sales page, is what the program is actually about. So here's some of the outline of the actual material. As you can see, we have what I call the big four. You're going to learn about the most. This is the second class. The first one is your absolutely slow start, super kindergarten hand-holding level to introduce you to the very basic tenets of how to read a sky, what the sky looks like, and what the ingredients of the sky are made out of. So that's your overview course. Some of you may not need that. Some of you may have been well established at astrology already, and for you, this will be extremely boring. But everyone who knows me knows that I think that the foundations in a beginning class, just understanding the language right away, is going to be crucial. You're learning a new language like French or Greek or whatever, and you're not going to get it all at once. It's going to take time, just like osmosis, like more exposure to it. So this is our week one, slow start overview. And then we move into the course itself. You can go to the website and click the details, the big four of the 12 houses, planetary dignity, planets and aspects, time lords, helmsmen, and annual profections. Now, this last part of the course, this is your golden ticket to success. You might think you know about, for example, annual profections. Well, I've been teaching annual profections for years, and I've got some insider trading tips there for you about how to use it in a way you may not have heard of before. And it's so easy to use that you could teach your kids and children and, friends and fam to use it once you get the lay of that land. And solar returns, of course, the birthday chart. Everyone loves their birthday chart. It gives you a whole snapshot of everything that happens at a given age. Again, I've taught this class many times, and I've also done this for clients for 7 or 8 years, and you'll be learning a few things you won't find anywhere else about how to read that solar return chart and understand what happens in the year. Everything about this course leads to how to time your life. This is not a course that's teaching you how to navel gaze. I'm not here to show you the quirks of your personality in the simulation called life. I'm not here to help you navigate your past and talk about why it happened. Those are not the courses we're teaching. We're teaching you how to read the sky so you can use the GPS metric of the sky, astrology as a map of time to time your best life. So this is a course that teaches you to become an forecaster or a navigator of reality in a more successful way. So reminding you of that. I get people in this class who want to talk about my Chiron, or my Pluto. And I'm like, nah, no, we don't do that. This is not going to dive into your archetypal, character in the simulation, your wounds and stuff like that. We're learning to teach you how to time your life in this particular class. All right. Now, this is my 7th year teaching, as a lot of you know, so I've gotten to know a lot of the issues that come up, and that was just one of those issues that is routinely showing up. We have 7 core classes. We have 28 actual sessions. We have teaching team Q&A plus me on my own Q&A. So you've got a couple Q&As to choose from per week. We change the time. So everywhere in the world, you'll probably be able to make one. Everything I do has a course replay. Everything I do is loaded into the teaching platform for you to keep forever. If you can't make the live classes, if you can't make any of the Q&As, you can still come and learn from me. However, I'm not reselling this course. I have never resold this course as a self-study. So if you really want to jump in, this would be your chance. These are, and I always say I may not teach it next year. It's always possible with 2 books in my on the shelf to finish, 2 books to finish, 1 astrology, 1 spiritual awakening, and actually 1 fiction book. I would like to get those written in the next year. So just be aware of that. This can be an introduction to my next course next year, Mapmaker, and also Codebreaker. In other words, this would give you the basic understanding to jump into my more intensive and more advanced courses next year. Now, I have guest workshops every year. Last year, I had 4 teachers. Now I have 6. This is just bonus content. This is just extra material for you to enjoy. So we begin on October 1st. Every Thursday, we have guest teachers. And I will see if I can figure out where on my website that my team put that. But just so you know, those guest workshops will teach you some very fundamental, fun things to do in astrology. So here we have it. 6 ways to see where it can lead. Lovely, lovely team headlines here. So one of my colleagues and students, former students, Sinette Caldwell-Barr, is doing the 4 I always can't say this word, Purusharthas, and this is a great tool of understanding where your purpose, your prosperity, your spiritual liberation, and your pleasure and your money stuff lie in your chart. So I think you'll enjoy that. It's easy to learn. It's very powerful, and it really does help you see how to navigate life. Mel is going to be teaching where in the world you might want to live or travel based on astrology and how you can look at your astrocartography chart. And we'll also have Laura Basseni teaching about the Cosmic Wellness Blueprint. She is a health coach, but also a medically trained astrologer, like medical astrology, and you'll learn some basics about finding your own energetic elemental and modality elements for better health and wellness, and also prevention, I suppose. Donnie Lim, my colleague, who's very much an expert on all things Venus, you guys may have seen him on my channel with me doing world astrology. He's really fun to hang with, is teaching the divine feminine cycles for timing, okay? Divine feminine cycles and timing. And so he'll be taking you down the Venus conversation road for her cycles and how to use that in your life for all ways to move forward, especially with love and pleasure and desire and money. Justin McClure is an electional astrology teacher today for us in our course, and he will teach you how to choose the best time to launch your business, make that phone call, hire that lawyer, whatever, get married, etc. Electional astrology teaches you some of the basic understanding that when you begin something, then you set in motion that thing forever. In other words, it bears like a birth chart stamp. So knowing when to launch something into motion is important. It's funny, a lot of us astrologers on YouTube do this all the time. When we want to do something big and splashy or promote something, we'll look for a very good sky and a very good time of day in that sky to put it out for you guys on YouTube. So you'll also notice all of a sudden every astrologer is emailing you on the same day. A lot of us are using electional times. Tara and Renee will be teaching us the magic cosmic magic of numerology when you blend it with astrology. I love this combination. I've been doing this for myself for years. So if you want to learn how to illuminate your reality by making these two pieces of the real estate, numerology and astrology, two occult disciplines come together, that's your ticket to fun. All of these courses on Thursday evenings, okay, at 6 p.m. Pacific time, are available for you for replay and self-study, and you get to keep them forever. But if you attend live, of course, you can ask questions for the teacher and be engaged in a live learning process. Now, just alone, these courses would be easily costing a couple $100 for 6 courses. So you can see what a deal Sky Reader really is. We come together every single Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Adjust for your time in Europe. Usually you guys are 8 hours difference than we are in Pacific time, but ask Siri, Google, or timeanddate.com, etc. So you know exactly when we're coming together. And here we have a lovely little schedule drawn up of all of the times for everything to happen. You could just take a look at that by going to the website, screenshot it or whatever, but there you are. So we may not repeat this live edition. I always say that. You always never believe me, but there will be a point, 7th year teaching, you get the 7-year itch, you know, which is a Saturn cycle, that I may have to take a break in order to write some of these books that I need to get done or that I want to get done. So go ahead, Facebook group, Discord group. It's not where I'm monitoring your homework, but you do get homework. It's where you got collaboration and support from my moderators, encouragement. You can tag me or my moderators for help, but I'm not there checking your homework like you're being certified by me to become an astrologer, but it is a very useful group. Other students ahead of you or former students will probably be there. People help each other when you're confused, and my moderators will also be astrologers who are also supporting you when you have questions about what you're doing. Nobody in this course is doing the work for you. You do get homework. It's totally optional. It's to practice the methods you're learning as you learn them. All right, so here we have it. We're at the end of it. These are some great people who decided, my students, to give me some wonderful testimonials over the years in the various classes I've taught. You're seeing a lot of my last class group, the Divine Timing Masterclass. Give me some commentary there, but Sky Reader, people come back every year to do it over and over again because it actually is a lot of fun. So I hope some of you will consider joining me, and I am so excited. We have a nice little gathering of 29 countries and 325 students already signed up, and we are well supported to make sure that you have a good time and that you don't get lost as you go along. I do have staff, I have teaching assistants, but it is me in that Zoom room for 2 hours. It usually ends up being 2 hours every single Saturday. And I'm also available in one of the weekly Q&As of the 2 each week. All right. Thanks, guys. Don't forget, this is just an overview. Hopefully it gives you some lay of the land. Go to LoriLothian.com/sky-reader.
Lunatic astrology.